Welcome to Breakdown. JJ, football is in the air. We can both smell it. It smells better than mom's apple pie. Are you ready?
I'm ready for football. I'm always ready for football.
Always ready. Well, since we are up here in Big Ten country, let's do a little segment on the Big Ten.
Let's talk about the Big Ten.
2024 Big Ten, your take on it. Jay, I'm going to start off by asking you for 4 teams in the Big Ten who potentially could get to the college football playoff. And we know it won't happen 4. I mean, the most is going to be 3, but give me your pick as 4, potentially.
In the order of finish, I'm going to go with number 1, Oregon Ducks.
Okay.
Number 2 would be the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Okay.
Number 3 would be the Michigan Wolverines. And number 4 would be James Franklin's first appearance in the college football playoff with this Penn State Nittany Lions.
You know, you and I are very close. Very, very close.
Okay.
The only thing is, I have Michigan 4th and Penn State 3rd.
Well,
So in the event they don't take 4 teams, I mean, Michigan would be out in the cold from me. But from your perspective, if only 3 teams make it, Penn State would be out in the cold.
yeah, I expect Penn State to finish a little bit behind Michigan this year.
Okay. There's a Big Ten got some new players this year.
You got some new players.
I didn't hear you name any of their new players.
Well,
They have what? USC, UCLA, Washington. Oh, I'm sorry.
new teams.
Yeah, new team. I'm sorry. You did name Oregon.
I did name Oregon, yeah.
That's number 1.
Yes.
That's number 1. Man, that's gonna make the Big Ten a little bit different. JJ, the Big Ten, can they repeat?
Absolutely, they can repeat.
How high are you on them repeating?
Well, you look at Ohio State's transfer portal and recruiting class.
Pretty good.
That's pretty good. They got Emeka Ibuka to come back at receiver. In addition to all those the additions at quarterback and running back and safety and all those other additions. You know, they have one of the best. They have one of the best secondaries in the country. They have Caleb Downs as a transfer. They have Denzel Burke, the cornerback. I don't know. Lathan Ransom is the other. I think Ohio State.
Okay. I want to ask you a question about Oregon, though. Oregon, they only lost 2 games last year. They were 12-2. They lost those 2
to
games.
one team.
I'm about to say, to 1 team. And that would have been Washington. But JJ, did the Big Ten do Oregon any favors by having them play their first year in the conference, having them play both Ohio State and Michigan this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be part of the conference. It's the best welcome to the conference to play the 2 staples of the conference. Yeah, I mean, they have to play the defending national champion Michigan Wolverines, and they have to play Ohio State.
Everybody don't have to play. Let's look at Penn State. Penn State doesn't play Michigan this year.
They don't play Michigan this year, which is good for them.
And they don't play Oregon this year.
That's also good for Penn State as well.
So, but Oregon got Michigan and Ohio State.
They do.
Okay. JJ, why are you higher on Oregon than you are Ohio State?
Well, they both went to the transfer portal to replace the most important position in sports, which is the quarterback. And one team got Dylan Gabriel, who is the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman Trophy as of this moment in time, and the other one got Will Howard, who lost his starting job to Avery Johnson out there in Kansas State. Little Manhattan, the Little Apple. I just don't believe in Ohio State's quarterback play. Same as last year. I think they might have gotten a worse quarterback than they had last year.
If you are a fan of the Ducks, Is there anything that you're concerned about? Any position, anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, you're concerned with. I would be concerned with their secondary. I would be concerned with their defensive line as well. They're going to have to generate pressure.
They're going to outscore everybody. It doesn't matter what other people score on them, does it?
I think they're going to see a different defensive front. I think Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State are going to present different defensive challenges than what they've seen in the Pac-12.
But you're picking them to have success in the new look Big Ten, big time success.
Yeah, I think they're going to have big time success. I do believe in their coach. I do believe in their quarterback. I do believe in their recruits. But it's going to be an adjustment period as well.
Let's go to your. Well, before we go to your number 3, well, let's go ahead and go to your number 3 and number 14. You got Penn State number 4, Michigan number 3.
Yeah.
Michigan returning champs. What do they have that make you so put them over Penn State? I mean, they lost a lot of players last year.
I think they have the best player in the country. I think that Will Johnson is the best cornerback at his position. More obvious, like kind of how Jerry Rice was obviously the best player at his position. I think that's where Will Johnson finds himself. There's a distant second for whatever second place is. Obviously, they also have Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. They have a really great defensive front. And they still, even though they lost Zach Zenner and some other starters from the offensive line, I still think that they have the best offensive line coach and the offensive line development program in the country. So I do think that when you have that defense and you have that play at the line of scrimmage that they do have, I think that they're going to be able to stop teams from doing what they want. I think they're going to be able to enforce their will, especially when you have a guy like Donovan Edwards returning.
Well, with Michigan, they lost a lot of their offensive line that was so great. But JJ, do you forget about this one guy out in Colorado? I think he wears number 12. Travis is his first name. His last name is like Hunter.
What does he have to do with the Big Ten or the SEC?
Well, you said the second best defensive back was a distant second?
I don't think Travis Hunter is as good I think defensive back is the second best position that Travis Hunter plays.
Oh, I think he's a better defensive back than he is a receiver.
I don't agree.
Okay.
I do not agree.
Well, we can agree to disagree.
We do agree. Okay. I guess, apparently we do.
Okay.
I don't think he's the second best defensive back in the country either.
JJ, I'm gonna skip on. I'm gonna move on. Get back to Michigan. I think to win in the Big Ten, you gotta dominate the line. Michigan's offensive line is going to be dominating this year, in your mind.
Yeah, they've won 2 of the last 3 Joe Moore awards, and last year, the year that they didn't win it, they won the national championship. Even after Zach Zenner, their leader, their captain on the offensive line, even after he went down with a season-ending injury before the college football playoff started, they still imposed their will. They have the best offensive line coach in the country. They have the best development program in the country when it comes to their offensive line.
You and I are gonna just agree to disagree again.
Well, what do you have to argue against that? What do you think is gonna happen with their offensive line?
I don't think their offensive line is proven in any way, shape, or form. Just because what they did in the past doesn't mean they're gonna do that in the future. They gotta prove it, and until they do prove it, if they prove it, which I really would be surprised if they do.
Why would you think that they wouldn't prove it? Do you think that they don't recruit at a high enough level? Do you think that when the sophomores and underclassmen that did come in, do you think that they performed poorly?
No. I think other teams are recruiting as well as they are and better than they are in some spots. And they're developing guys already.
Okay. Well, I think recruiting is hardest to at the offensive line level and at the quarterback level. I think those are the hardest 2 positions to project. So I mean, all right, we'll see.
Yeah, let's go. Let's move on. Let's talk about a couple of games that the Big Ten will be playing against SEC, and that's week 2. Texas.
All right.
I want to talk about Michigan and Texas. There's a couple other games we're going to talk about. Give me your take on that Michigan-Texas game. And I know we talked a little bit about this when we talked about the SEC, but I want from a Michigan perspective, what do they need to be concerned about when playing Texas at home?
I think they have to be concerned with Quinn Ewers. I know Texas lost Jonathan Brooks, the running back, but I think that they have to watch out for the running game. Texas does have a pretty stout offensive line as well, but I think right now Michigan is like a 1.5 point favorite in that game.
Would you give Michigan's offensive line the notch over Texas' offensive line this year?
I don't know. I think Texas has one of the 5 best offensive lines in the country. I think they're in the same tier. I think that they're in the same ballpark. I don't know whose is better. I don't. But I think they're similar. I think they built their team similarly.
But Jay, I'm going to ask you about October 12th.
Okay.
To me, it's a big game. It's going to be played
In Eugene?
in Eugene.
I think that's going to be a big game for a lot of people.
It's going to be Ohio State is going there. I'm sure it's going to be a night game, probably prime time, late at night.
Yeah, Hudson Stadium's going to be rocking.
Tell me your take on that. I know you said you got Oregon #1, but you can still lose a game and be there. Well, is Ohio going to be more focused up for the Michigan game, or will they be more up for this Ohio? I'm sorry. Let me start off. Will Ohio State be more up for the Michigan game, or will they be up for this new trip to Oregon?
I think Oregon will be the higher ranked team, but I think they'll still probably at that point in the season still be ranked below Ohio State. So I do think that if Oregon had been ranked ahead of Ohio State, I think I could see a world where Ohio State would be more interested in that. But because of the last 3 years as it pertains to the Ohio State-Michigan game, I definitely know their coach wouldn't be more up for the Oregon game than the Michigan game. But I do think Ohio State's going to be the higher ranked team regardless. So I think that there will be not any additional motivation. I think it will be a little bit of a novelty factor that their new conference mate in Eugene, Oregon. So I think that that's going to be interesting. But
From a fan perspective,
I think for the freshmen, maybe the Oregon game would be that more big for them. But for the seniors that have lost to Michigan 3 times in a row, I think the Michigan game it would be.
From a fan perspective, would you be more interested in the Oregon-Ohio State game or the Oregon-Michigan game?
I would be more interested in the Oregon-Ohio State game than the Oregon-Michigan game.
Okay.
What about you?
Same here.
Okay.
JJ, Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Day. How much danger is he in?
Of what?
He won 11 games last year. Getting fired. He won 11 games last year. He's the #2 rated team in the country this year. His over and under is 10.5 projected for this year. How much danger is he in getting fired? On a scale of 1 to 10.
I would put him at a 5.
5.
Yeah. What would you put him at?
I'm surprised that you're going to put him at a 5. I would put him at this danger level at a 1.
Okay.
But I do know he got to prove something to the people of Ohio. And what is it that he got to prove?
That he can beat Michigan and win a championship.
Can he beat Michigan? I'm asking you that question.
He can. He won't, I don't think, but I think he can.
In 2020, he made a famous statement during the COVID year.
Allegedly.
Okay. He's going to hang 100 on Michigan.
And since then, all of the points that they scored since that quote hadn't equaled 100.
Well, are they a better team than Michigan this year? You got them ahead of Michigan.
Yeah, I do have them ahead of Michigan. I do think Ohio State could. I think that the pivotal games are the Oregon game. I think Oregon. I could see Oregon beating both Ohio State and Michigan, and I could also see, Michigan does have the Texas that could end up being a loss. I think that they are at a further risk than Ohio
Okay,
State. That's why I think they have a little bit harder schedule, so I have Ohio State
I
ahead
understand.
them. But I could see that's a pivotal game for.
For all you Michigan fans, last game of the regular season, when you go to Columbus, make sure you bring your A game, because if you do not, Ryan Day and the Columbus Buckeyes are going to try to tag 100. And I know not 100, but they're not going to take their feet off the brake, off the gas rather. I'm just saying that. JJ, can we talk a little bit about my favorite Big Ten school?
Your favorite Big Ten school? What would that be?
MSU,
MSU.
Michigan State Spartans.
Okay.
JJ, man, their over and under, JJ, is 4.5.
4.5 points for Michigan.
4.5 games.
State. Or 4.5 games, I mean.
Will they exceed that over and under?
They got a tough schedule. Unfortunately, they don't get to avoid all the teams that the Rutgers of the world get to avoid and Penn State gets to avoid. They have to play Michigan. They have to play Ohio State. They have to play Oregon. They have to play those teams in a row. They have a very
they play
tough,
Ohio State and Oregon in a row. Then they get Iowa before they play Michigan.
Well, yeah, but they have 4 ranked teams.
Back to back.
Yeah, and
But they don't play Penn State this year.
they do not play Penn State this year. So good for them on that one.
Michigan State, man, will they go over the 4.5?
Aiden Child says that you should. He said in an interview, take the over.
Yeah, he's take the over, meaning on the point spread in the game.
See, I've heard it. I've heard it both ways. I've heard some people think that they're talking about the game against FAU, and I've heard some people think that he's talking about the over/under for the season. I don't know. Either way, I think as a student athlete, he probably shouldn't be talking about the point spread regardless.
I agree.
But especially after what's been going on in the news with some NBA players and some former Iowa football players, and I think that it probably should just could have been articulated differently.
Well, I'm going to say this, but the game, I mean the season, the 4.5. The reason, and I hate to say this, the reason I can't take the over is because last year, Michigan State's defense, their offense rushed for 89.5 yards per game. Their rushing offense was number 125 out of 130 teams. And they're still got, who is it, their running back? Nate Carter.
Yeah.
He's their key running back. They did get some backup help for him. Transfer, I can't remember if he's from Temple or UMass, but Kayron Lynch Adam, running back. But their running game, they lost so much on their offensive line. They lost so much on their defensive line.
Transfers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Jonathan Smith, I'm pulling for you. Do me right.
He has some work to do, though.
But I won't be putting any stone cold cash on the over.
Yeah, probably for the best. I wouldn't be doing that either.
But maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
JJ.
Sure.
Anything else in the Big Ten that you want to discuss? Any teams that Nebraska? What you got on them, man? They supposed to be.
I have them finishing
improved.
5th in the league. Their schedule is very winnable. A lot of games are winnable on that schedule. If you look at Nebraska,
Colorado come into Nebraska week 2. Will that be an interesting game?
yeah, Dylan Raiola versus Shador Sanders. That should be a very interesting game. I don't think Colorado has the depth to match up with Nebraska. Nebraska lost 7 games last year. They went 5-7. 4 of those games they lost by 3 points or less.
And one of those games was Colorado.
And one was Colorado. But they don't have Jeff Sims at quarterback anymore. It's Dylan Raiola. And if he has been as good as people have been saying, the next Patrick Mahomes or whatever, I don't know about all that. But I think they're going to be good. I think, Rutgers has an incredibly easy schedule. They could go places as well.
You're missing the one team, though, man.
What?
Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't.
Iowa, they only play Ohio State.
Yeah, but they still have their offense. So that, I mean, they could still lose to Wisconsin. They could lose to Minnesota. They could lose to South Dakota State. I mean,
But
they could.
they still have their defense though.
But they lost their best player, Cooper. They lost the defensive player of the year in Cooper DeJean.
But they still gonna be good at defense.
Well, they're not going to have their head coach in the first game because he got suspended for recruiting their quarterback, which I guess.
Well, you know what? Don't sleep on Iowa. Don't sleep on Iowa making it to the playoffs.
Well, okay. Well, anyway.
Okay, JJ. Okay, that's the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Can we put a wrap on it?
I think we can put a bow on that one.
WPS. Woo pig. Suey.
Detroit basketball. I'm out.
Our football.